if I want to find the volume, if I were to graph these two graphs and then revolve the area between these two graphs around the x-axis, let's do it. So the first step is for these two graphs, we don't even know where they cross. And from there, after we find out where they intersect, we also got to find out then which one is the higher, which one is the lower, to find our washer method, because it's probably going to be a washer with these two graphs. Some of you could tell this is an upside down parabola, this is a line, and that can help some of you for graphing purposes, which would be good. I'm going to try to do it without graphing it. So first thing we do is set both these equal to find out where they cross. So when you set them equal to each other and you solve this, I'm going to move everything to the right and get 0 equals x squared. When you add this over, that becomes 3x, and when you minus this over, it disappears. And when you solve that, you got 0 equals x plus 3, so my answers are x equals 0 and -3. That's where these two graphs cross when x is 0 and -3. Now, which of these two graphs is higher in the interval? So let's do, for the first graph, let's just plug in y of -1 to the first graph. And when we do that, we get, what, 6. I'm just plugging a value. By the way, -1, I plugged this value from 0 to -3. That would be 6 plus 2, becomes positive 2. This becomes a -1. So 6 plus 2 minus 1 would be 8 minus 1 is 7. All right, so that's that one. And then we have the next one, which would be -1 plus 6, which is 5. So what we'll notice from here, this is 5, this is 7 and 5. This one ends up being the top, this one ends up being the bottom. Now, it might be easier to say outer and inner, but this one's the top one, this is the bottom one, or outer and inner. Because on the interval, okay, from 0 to -3, this one was 7 high, this is 5 high, so we know that the quadratic is above. To find the integral, or the volume, well, to find the volume, you're going to take the integral from 0 to -3. We're doing it around the x-axis. There's a pi out here, it's always pi r squared. But what's my function? Well, my function is the outer piece is the top. The top graph is my outer piece. So it's 6 minus 2x minus x squared. That is my outer, minus my inner would be the x plus 6, and it's dx. So this is my outer arc, this is my inner arc, creating a washer, and the integral will add it all up. If you took the time to do all the math here, your answer for the volume would end up being 243 pi over 5. That would be the volume. Now, what if I revolved around y equals 3? That's a little bit more difficult. I'm going to just do a little sketch here for that one. Actually, no. We already know where they intersect. We already know this one's on top and this one's on bottom. We know that at -1, isn't this 7 and this 5? So aren't these two values above 3? So from these two values right here, do we know, from 5 and 7, do we know it's above this? I can tell my graph is above this function. So if it's above it, what you're going to find is to find your volume. You still put the pi. You still put the... Oh, what did I mess up? This is negative 3 to 0. Anybody know? Shouldn't this be negative 3 to 0? Got it? Easy to mess up that because it's negative. It's from negative 3 to 0. So this one's from negative 3 to 0. Now the upper function again is this equation, but since it's 3 high, wouldn't that mean that it's 3 less than the function's length? So what happens is, if this is the height of the outer one, and we're doing it y equals 3, what that is basically going to say is, you're simply going to go, oh, 6 minus 2x minus x squared minus 3. The reason for that is you take the length, which is the height, the outer circle, but it's 3 less because you're starting at y equals 3, higher. Minus, same thing with the other one. It's going to be x plus 6 minus 3. And it's going to be dx. Now again, it's minus 3 because when you're at y equals 3, you're 3 higher for both of these. So you want 3 less for each. If you were to integrate all that and do the volume, your volume would end up being 108 pi over 5.